So while I did promise you guys that today I would at least go over the whole thing that happened with Bella Goth, I kinda I did not plan this out very well, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, and I want to go about this differently. However, there's been a bit of stress going on in my personal life. I am going to go over the original post that is happening. However, I want to go more into detail onto what exactly I think, like the storyline that I personally choose and why I think that. We're going to talk about what I no longer believe to be the case. I actually haven't really read this post because I kind of hate it. I'm going to be completely honest. I hate this post. I hate everything about it. I wish I had given it more time. Just because I was not in a point in my life where I was able to give it a proper comb over like I originally wanted to. Honestly, because I was homeless and because I simply, like, mentally, I was exhausted. Emotionally, I was exhausted. Physically exhausted. And I did not have the proper setup to get this to work. Okay, so this is my Tumblr. I am AlexPlaysSims and stuff on Tumblr. This is me. Hi. Back in the day, I had originally subscribed to the theory that Bella was abducted by aliens that were set on her by the Calientes, who then murdered her when she returned. And so I went into the game to do a walkthrough as to how I came to that theory. That's when I found that I was way off. There's a whole ass rabbit hole here, and like a total Alice, I fell in it. This is true. I kind of started shutting myself away from my family at that point in time. But I was talking with people on social media, like, what do we think happened to Bella Goth? And I was really into it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what happened to her. Boom, boom, boom. And then I'm like, I'm going to prove it. So I hopped into The Sims 2 and I launched that. And I'm like, I'm going to go through their memories because I remember interpreting that as what happened in high school. I only had the base game of The Sims 2 because I had like the biggest dinosaur of a computer you could possibly have in 2014 that was capable of running The Sims 2, and it was just the base game. If you loaded on any expansion packs or stuff packs, it would crash. Anyway, so I'd come to that conclusion a long time ago. But I wanted to look into it more, and I'm like, this is what happened. And then there were like other things that sort of came up, and I'm like, oh, maybe not. And after 16 years of wondering and imagining different scenarios, I finally found the truth. Turns out we were all wrong, and the truth has been staring us in the face the whole time. I definitely approached this in a definitive light without taking into consideration that The Sims has like a lot of retconned lore, and there's not some hidden story. It's more on what relies on player interpretation. I did interpret this as the case at the time. However, honestly, I no longer do. I no longer have that tunnel vision. Just as a warning, this is very dark and bleak and depressing. Bella wasn't dealt a good hand, guys. What happened to her was all sorts of messed up. Just for clarity, I do base this off of events that happen in the official Sims storyline, because while the game is ultimately up to us to live life as we like, go ahead and do whatever you want with the game, there is a story being told here, but in a way that doesn't conflict with our own free will. Again, I'm approaching this very definitively, not taking into account that we're all making it up, frankly. This goes with the main Sims games released for PC and Mac. However, the console versions do provide a lot of insight to further details and situations, specifically The Sims 2 for PSP and The Sims 3 for the Nintendo DS. That could potentially give you insight if that's what you choose to do. Again, that's up for player interpretation. Sometimes I do like to integrate that into my playthrough, sometimes I don't. So first off, it has been verified what happened to her. In 2014, Twitter held an AMA for the Sim Gurus just before the release of The Sims 4. Someone asked the following question, and Sim Guru Sarah responded. And Seth Rainey, I don't know how you say that. Will we finally find out what happened to Bella? And then Sarah Holding responded, she traveled to Lunar Lakes and she's a ghost in the graveyard. Yes, that is what I choose to believe happened to her. But I don't know if that's like definitively where Maxis said she is. So pretty much what I think now is that originally that Strangetown Bella is supposed to be Pleasant View Bella. And that's how it originally was supposed to be in The Sims 2. But again, new games come along and they retcon what's already there. But I do believe that they designed her with the intention of making it so that it's her. So canonically, this is Bella. She gets left there. Someone in my comments has asked what we think happened to Bella and why she looks like that in Lunar Lakes when she's buried. That's just how all the ghosts look. That's how everybody who is buried in Lunar Lakes looks. Like, honestly, that's just, she's fine. She's fine. That's normal. That's her all right. Okay, so if she died in Lunar Lakes, there are still questions that need answered. One, did she ever go home? I'm going to answer that now. Probably not directly to her house in Pleasant View, but does her family know what happened to her? If she stays gone, no, they don't. They know she's abducted. They don't know where she went. 3, how did she die on Lunar Lakes? Old age. Find the answers to the other 2, kinda, and no. Again, approaching this definitively. Just to recap, I'm going to review Bella's life as we know it canonically. Bella was born to Simis and Jocasta Bachelor of Sunset Valley. She grew up the road from her childhood best friend and later husband Mortimer Goth with her older brother Michael. She's always had a sense of the macabre and dark and was known as the best dressed girl in town. Okay, I don't know if she always had a sense for it. So as a former little girl who grew up to have a lifelong love of, dark, spooky things, it was introduced to me, and I like to think that maybe it was introduced to Bella through Mortimer. She came from an average suburban family who had a fascination for the not average. Yes, that's true. I recently made myself play The Sims 3 just to get a better idea of who the Bachelors are. And I got very much American sitcom vibe. You get a neurotic father, a basket case mom, their jock son, who is a good old boy, and his girl power, brave, adventurous little sister. 25 years later, she shows up in The Sims 1 with her childhood best friend and now husband Mortimer Goth. They have moved into their own home and have a daughter, Cassandra. Yeah, okay, we know that's true. Her in-laws moved out of their home in Sunset Valley and moved into what would later become the Goth house of The Sims 2 and the beginnings of what would be known as Pleasant View. I believe that while Gunther is the founder of Pleasant View, Victor, his father, is the founder of Sunset Valley. I'll go over that and why I think that. Honestly, I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't like Victor Goth. Gunther, yeah, I like him a little better. Victor and Gretel Goth, no, hate him. I'll go over that later in another video. Unless you get her a job, she was a housewife, and she was known to be athletic, elegant, and friendly towards her neighbors. That is true. Like, she's always there to make friends. She's just so friendly. I actually have a memory of like one of the first times I ever played The Sims 1. I was 5 years old, and I was hyperlexic as a kid, so I could read enough to be able to read and play The Sims 1. And I remember I had my own little computer that I played on because it was 2003 and there were no such thing as tablets back then. I was not a tablet child, I was a computer child. But I remember one time making the Disney princesses in The Sims. We had hot date and house party, and Bella came over and she made friends with everybody, because that's just the type of sim that she is. And then they had a rooftop party. She came over, and her and all of the Disney princesses in my in the household that I made, in this house that was colorful and had a really cool party going on upstairs, they all died in a house fire. I watched as Ariel and Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty screamed and burned to death, and Bella couldn't escape. That was the inciting event that got me so hooked on The Sims, if I am being completely honest with you. It distressed me enough. Like, that was borderline traumatizing for me. But it also fascinated me, because I could back out without saving and then do it again. And I did that like 3 different times. I remember her often being the first to come and say hello to any new Sims I'd move into the neighborhood. Yes, that is true. Her brother Michael is in town. However, there's no acknowledge of them being siblings. Yeah. So there's the question of if they ever intended for them to be siblings. A family tree system didn't really exist in The Sims 1, and I'm sure they didn't even think to make them siblings back then, of course. But the fact remains that they have no relationship at this point in time. The only reason why it's known that Cornelia and Gunther are Mortimer's parents in The Sims 1 is what I meant to say, but I didn't add that in, is because it straight up says so in the bio. So I took this to mean that Bella and Michael just fell apart afterwards. I no longer believe that. I think they stayed close. I'll get into why later. So far, things are simple. That's because in the 25 years between The Sims 1 and 2, a series of events occurs that really make things interesting. Michael joins the science career. One can assume the reason why he settled into domestic living years after Bella had done so was because he was at grad school. Because he graduated from grad school, he gets a jump start in the career and climbs in the ladder a lot faster than Mortimer. I don't believe this is true. I don't think Michael was a scientist. Just getting to know his personality a little better throughout all the games. While he is an active sim, I think that he would have been in the business career fields. I actually have been wondering if like maybe because Mortimer was like more into science, if he took up that field and Gunther handed over the family company to Michael. Again, I'll get into why I think that later. But I have wondered that. That has something that has crossed my mind recently. I do not believe Michael is a scientist. Scientist Sims contribute an invention of the Sims world. Michael's invention was cloning technology. No, I don't believe that. He cloned himself and a test subject, Skip Broke. I'll get into Skip Broke. I know a lot of people have been like wanting me to cover him. I'll get into Skip Broke, but I don't believe the clones have any narrative purpose. Even though he died before it happened, arrangements were made so Brandy could be the next test subject and the first female subject. And when you start Pleasant View for the first time, she's pregnant with her own clone. The baby is always born a boy. I don't know how to interpret Brandy being pregnant with her own clone anymore. I do know that Brandy Broke is overrated. I don't like Brandy Broke. I honestly don't. We're gonna skip the clone part because Michael did not make the clones. Bella is the first test subject. I don't know if I think Bella took the age reversal serum, honestly. I mean, maybe she did, maybe she didn't. Okay, so I do believe now that maybe Dina and Nina did. Brandy absolutely did. Okay, so Bella, I don't know. Dina and Nina, more than likely. Dawn, more than likely. Brandy, absolutely. Cassandra goes to private school. Around this time, Gunther Goth dies. I think Cassandra goes to private school after Gunther dies. I got this wrong. Okay, so it goes Michael marries Dina Caliente and Alexander is born. Alexander is actually born shortly before Gunther died. Cassandra is still a child when Alexander is born. She ages up into teen not too much longer after he's born, but yeah, Gunther died after Alexander was born. I do still believe that because Cornelia was left alone, that Mortimer, Bella, and Cassandra and Alexander moved into where Gunther and Cornelia were living to take care of Cornelia. I do still believe that. Michael marries Dina Caliente. It is speculated that because of the age gap, they only marry for Michael's money. But it is worth noting that Michael was Dina's first serious relationship, and she didn't begin to cheat on Michael with Dawn until years later, just before Michael died. Not to like justify cheating like at all. Yes, Michael was Dina's first serious relationship. This is canon. So, however, she started seeing Michael when she was in high school. Okay, so you could take that to mean that Michael needs to be on like a registry or... Okay, so the reason why Nina and Dawn are involved, because Dina and Nina are twins. And Dawn was Nina's first relationship when she was in high school too. So Dawn would have to be the same age as Dina and Nina. Dina would have to be the same age as Michael to be in a relationship with Michael in high school. That is why I believe that they took the age reversal serum and they're actually a lot older than they show in the game. I don't believe that the Sims developers would make Michael like that. Shortly after Alexander's birth, Cornelia dies at the same time Michael does. No, I don't believe that. That is not correct. Cornelia died long after Michael. She actually dies right before the game starts. Dina inherits Michael's estate and moves in with Nina. They then move to Pleasant View. Okay, so yes, I do still believe that Dina took over Michael's estate and she didn't really know what to do with all that money, so she kind of just spent it all. And then, yeah, I do believe that Dina and Nina move in together. Dina has no idea how to spend that much capital. As far as the family business goes, I think maybe it was put in like a trust. So Alexander is pre-programmed to have the money aspiration when he's older. So I like to think that maybe he would take up the family business, the Goth family business, when he's old enough to. I grew up extremely poor, so I'm not going to pretend to know how that works. However it worked for Batman. However it worked for Bruce Wayne. Let's just say that. Okay. Dawn follows them and moves the next day. Yeah, I do still believe that Dawn moved to Pleasant View just because that's where Dina and Nina were. And Nina was definitely Dawn's rebound. Bella goes to introduce herself to her new neighbor, Dawn. They get along, and Dawn gets the wrong idea and he puts the move on Bella. Bella rejects him. He then runs off to go be with Kaylin and is not there when Bella is abducted by aliens. Yeah, I do still believe that to be the case. Bella is never seen again, but shortly after her abduction, a UFO crash lands in Strangetown, and reports that Bella is in Strangetown start rolling in. But spoiler alert, that is not the real Bella. Again, in the days of The Sims 2, that was supposed to be the real Bella, and then in the time since, they have retconned that, so that's not her, that's an imposter. Then, after Bella's abduction, before you start Pleasant View for the first time, the following happens. Mortimer and Dina hit it off rather fast, and marriage is definitely in the picture when the game first starts. Yes, I do still kind of believe that, but I don't believe they met then. I think they knew each other for a while. Cassandra, Mortimer, and Alexander all age up on the same day, 2 days after Bella disappears. Yes, this is true. This is still true. They all did age up around the same time, just a little bit afterwards. Cassandra goes to Dawn's house to find out what he knows about what happened to Bella. Jack's caught because he wasn't there, and that's where they meet for the first time. Dawn tries to seduce her, probably not realizing who she is. I don't know if I believe that is how Cassandra and Dawn met. I do believe that maybe try to put the moves on her and she like misinterpreted that. I do believe that she is naive. She's extremely intelligent, but socially maybe a bit stunted. I do believe that she misinterpreted Dawn and who he was as a person. So that's why she kind of rushes into things and she's like, marry me right now. Alexander goes into private school. Yes, I do believe that. Mortimer retires. Yes. And Cassandra gets engaged the very day the game starts. Maybe not the very day, but like not too long before you start the game. That's an important thing to note because people like to speculate that Dawn had something to do with Bella's disappearance because he made the move on Cassandra's mother and they were engaged and he didn't want to jeopardize that by Bella opening Yuri app. Yeah, I have seen people talk about that like Dawn and Cassandra got engaged first and then he like went to like try and make the moves on Bella and then like did something with her. I do remember seeing that. That didn't happen. Dawn's just a slut. Another important thing to point out is that it's not known if Dina and Nina knew Bella. At least not well, since it can't be established if Michael and Bella had a relationship at all. Again, I do believe they did. I do believe that Bella knew Dina. Maybe not well. I don't know if she knew Nina. With Michael being dead and with Bella being missing, we don't know. That's up for player interpretation. I do believe that Bella did know Dina. Mortimer has no memories of Michael. Yeah, okay, so that is just me misinterpreting the missing memories. I do believe that, Cassandra and Alexander were familiar with Michael as their uncle, but, like, didn't really know him very well. Regarding Dina and Nina and their alien ancestry, their father was a result of an alien abduction pregnancy, but he was born human, so they're not part alien. Yeah, that was wrong. Which means they didn't order any aliens to go out and kidnap anybody. That's not how that translates, but I I still don't believe they really did anything. I don't believe that they were the ones who had any. I don't believe they were involved in Bella being abducted by aliens. I think it was just an unfortunate coincidence. It's also worth noting that Mortimer is completely fine with Bella being gone. He's not heartbroken and isn't desperately trying to find her like the game tries to suggest. He's strangely cool about it. Why is Mortimer fine with Bella being gone? Because they're no longer married and haven't been since... I don't believe that anymore. I really don't believe that anymore. I have noticed that there is a significant shift in the Goth family after Gunther passes away, but it wasn't because they divorced. I don't know. Now, it is possible to bring Bella back with the Tombstone of Life and Death. She'll only stick around for a short while because she has a death token that activates when you save the lot. This is true. Go into Pleasantview and then reload the Goth house. This is true. She'll disappear. Interesting to note that if she's in the middle of doing something like talking with a sim or cooking food, she doesn't disappear completely until she's done. She does turn see-through and just kind of glitches out. It's really creepy. Yes, this does happen. It is really weird. Yeah. I've done that before. I've done that to like bring her back real quick to like have her have Mathilde. I mentioned this later in the post here in a minute. But if every single time Mortimer and Bella have a third child, at least in my experience, it has been a girl. I'm not sure if it's just because of the way that the genetic system works in The Sims 2. I don't really know what would cause that, but in my experience, if they have a third child, it is always a girl. At least in The Sims 2. In The Sims 4, it's been a boy every time. I usually have to go and create Mathilde. A notification saying she died somewhere else and her spirit has returned to where she was buried. I like that little illusion now that, you know, she's not on Earth. However, if she dies this way, you cannot resurrect her with the Resurrectonometron. It doesn't matter who tries it, where they are, or anything. Grimm acts like he doesn't know anything about Bella being dead, and even if this sim could resurrect a sim, Bella is not listed. What I want to do is I want to bring Bella back and then have her die a different way and see what happens, but I'm a little worried that it might break my game. Has anybody actually tried that? Since we know Bella is buried in Lunar Lakes, this means she died somewhere between the week of her abduction and Cassandra's wedding where the game starts. Maybe not. I don't know if she died that soon after. Because of how the worlds in The Sims 3 work, that they're like on different timelines, I don't... Mathilda's a young adult, and if you believe that Mathilde is Bella's child, then like maybe it's been another 25, 30 years. But yeah, I don't know. I have no idea when she would have died. However, when you have Bella in your household, you'll find she's brought back with no personality points. She has no memories besides what happened to her children after the first load of Pleasantview. Yes, that is true. So let's say that between loading the game and bringing back Bella's tombstone, Cassandra gives birth to twin boys. I bring that up specifically because that did happen in like my own personal playthrough. Bella will come back with memories that Cassandra had twins, and she will even know who her grandchildren are. Yeah, I mentioned that. Bella will have no relationship at all whatsoever with Mortimer. You can see her before you bring her back. You can see before you bring her back on the Goth family tree that they are not married at that point, and Mortimer and Bella start their relationship over as acquaintances. I don't know why that is. If there is a technical explanation for that, I would like to hear it. But I have no idea why that is. I definitely don't know if it's because she was like accidentally deleted and then brought back and then they just forgot to make them married. I don't know. If you let them progress their relationship naturally with no cheats, they actually fight a lot and do not get along at all. Okay, so that's if you keep all of her personality points gone. I've tried reallocating them and they still don't get along. I've noticed this, actually. If you make Sims with the same personality as Bella and Mortimer do in that game, and you start them out as just roommates and they interact normally, they make friends very fast. And I think that's because of Bella, because Mortimer has a harder time making friends, from what I've noticed. But the romance doesn't really happen. You really have to like set that up. It's interesting. I have tried that. I've never been able to get it to work naturally. I always have to like force it. So that's super interesting to know. Now, any townie and NPC created before Nightlife will have their turn-ons and turn-offs randomized, but it seems to constantly make it so that Bella is never attracted to Mortimer, and Mortimer is rarely attracted to Bella. This is a consistent thing, which is interesting to take into consideration. Yeah, that is true, but I think it's just a matter of statistics. There are some problems boiling up for some time before Bella vanished. They get divorced at around the same time Alexander is born. No, they do not get along at all, only if you don't fix her personality. Mortimer is completely fine after Bella's disappearance and isn't the frantic husband he's marketed to be up at this point in time. Yes, only because their relationship is erased and, like, she's just hidden and not there. But I do believe that he would be. Again, I'll get into that later. Mortimer gets into a relationship with Dina Caliente extremely soon after Bella vanishes. I don't know if I believe that. I think that is more recent. If Bella does come back and Mortimer is still alive, they naturally do not get along at all. Again, if you don't fix her personality. Which is weird, right? They were always shown to be this desperately in love couple who couldn't live without each other. I remember them having a good relationship in The Sims 1. Yes, that is true. It is very weird to me that they are, like, kind of forced together despite not organically, like, compatible, it seems. Yeah, that's just in my experience, though. Also worth noting, Bella is a romance aspiration sim. That is true. Sims 2, they tend to hoe around a lot. There are a few other adult sims in Pleasant View who are also romance aspiration sims: Don Lothario, Nina Caliente, Daniel Pleasant, and Skip Broke. What is interesting is that while for the most part romance aspiration sims like to hoe around, there is one exception to this rule so far: Nina Caliente. Nina Caliente is only romantically involved with Don Lothario. That is true. Nina is a ride or die. Frankly, she can do so much better, honestly. Like, come on, Nina. Unless you have another sim start putting the moves on her, then it's a whole other story. Yeah, I love Nina. I really do. She's one of my favorites. She gets very excited about new romance very quickly. I did, like, go over that and discover that in, like, my attempt at a Sims 2 Let's Play. I think I'm just gonna, like, scrap that whole thing if I'm being honest. Bella could have been the same way, but that wouldn't make any sense with the myriad of problems with her relationship with Mortimer. I think that is exactly the case. I think she is the same way, that she's just a ride or die, and she really did love Mortimer. But we'll get into that later. Bella had an affair. Mortimer found out about it, which caused them to at least separate for a while. No. Then Bella became pregnant with Alexander, which would have brought up an important question: who is Alexander's father? No, I do, like, obviously Mortimer was always intended to be Alexander's father. I don't think there's ever a question of that. That's just me kind of running away with it. Once Alexander was born and he got a little older, it becomes clear that he resembles Cornelia. This is true, therefore verifying that Mortimer is indeed the father. I don't believe there was any paternity drama with Alexander. This would have caused them to try their relationship again, and Bella would have turned down Dawn in good faith to Mortimer. Yeah, Bella did turn down Dawn in good faith to Mortimer, but that's because she loved Mortimer. It wasn't because of any relationship problems that they were having. Who did Bella have an affair with? Dawn wasn't in town yet, and they hadn't met. Neither did she meet the Calientes yet, which leaves two possible contenders for Bella's secret lover: Daniel Pleasant and Skip Broke. Yeah. On one hand, Daniel was Bella's neighbor. She knew the Pleasants and was friends with Mary Sue. Daniel had an affair with Kaylin going on, so he definitely could have some action on the side going on with Bella, too. My only reservation on that, I couldn't imagine her husband doing that to her best friend, but then again, she did have an affair on her husband, who's to say what her immoral? Maybe? I mean, I suppose you could interpret that maybe they did have an affair, but I don't... Knowing Bella and knowing the kind of sim she is, and knowing that she is friends with Mary Sue, I don't believe that she would have an affair with Daniel. She's also usually quick to make friends with Kaylin in The Sims 3. Yeah. Then there's Skip Broke. This one makes the most sense to me, personally. While she wasn't close with Michael, not true, that doesn't mean she completely avoided him altogether. Yeah, she didn't. She would have heard about Michael's cloning experiments. Again, he didn't do that. Could have met Skip that way, or she came to say hello and that's how they met. I'll get to Skip Broke later, but he has nothing to do with this. Brandy found out Skip was cheating on her, and she killed him and took his insurance money. I still kind of think that's the case, but I don't think that Skip was cheating on Brandy with Bella. Maybe I'll do another thing on Skip Broke, because that happens to be another rabbit hole altogether. Yeah, I don't really know what I think about the Broke family. Besides, I don't like Brandy. Blah, we've already established. Nina is innocent altogether. She just loves Don and is completely oblivious to the fact that he's doing her sister and 2 other women. Yeah, I do believe she's a victim here. Nina Caliente is a sweetheart. I love her. Justice for Nina. Bella dies sometime in the week between her abduction and the first time the Goth house is booted up from her old age on Lunar Lakes. Again, timeline on when she would have died on Lunar Lakes is a little fuzzy. Then a UFO crash lands in Strangetown, and shortly thereafter reports of Bella being in Strangetown again start swarming around. Yes. This Bella is a clone. I think this is just an oversight, because, like, this is, like, a modified Face 2, and then this is Face 1. I think that's just an oversight, frankly. Yeah, okay, so at the point in time, the wiki did say that Strangetown Bella did appear on the Curious Family tree. I don't know if that's still there. I haven't really looked. But if that is still there, that is inaccurate. So clearly when Bella was abducted, something went wrong. The aliens even abduct her in the first place. I tend to go after Sims who are wealthy, high-skilled, good-looking, popular, anything like that. Bella was all of those things. She was the epitome of the perfect Sim to the aliens. They practically worshipped her, and the queen took her name and appearance. Actually, yes. Yes, the Sim alien queen does apparently look like Bella Goth. I don't know if I believe that she started doing that because of Bella, though. I think maybe she got their attention. If the Calientes didn't, like, send their alien relatives to abduct her, then maybe it was just the fact that she looks like their queen that got their attention. So if something were to go wrong, why would the aliens worship her unless she had been watched for some time before her abduction? Maybe she was watched. Again, I don't know. That's kind of out in the open. Aliens also do not abduct children, the elderly, and pregnant Sims, because their experimentation could go drastically wrong. This is true, but I think it's just because of game safeguards. Yeah, I still do believe that she was pregnant with Mathilde when she went missing. I do 100% believe that. I do completely believe that this girl right here, Mathilde Goth, is Bella and Mortimer's third child. Yeah, they don't appear on each other's family tree. I still believe that, like, Bella died when Mathilde was very young. And that's why they don't show up, because maybe Mathilde was just put in an orphanage and was never adopted out. So I do believe that it's possible that Alexander could just never find out that his mom was abducted by aliens. Or if he did know about it, he would just think it's crazy. I do believe that maybe he would think that she was murdered. I think that the whole murdered in Pleasant View thing was just more of an Easter egg. It wasn't really supposed to be, like, integrated into the world. Just as a side note, though, when I did play with the Bachelor family, I did have Simis make a book called Why Does Everybody Say My Daughter's Gonna Get Abducted by Aliens? Or something like that. I don't remember. I think I have footage of that. Mathilde has no idea where her mother came from, and the fact that she has a family on Earth who is just as oblivious to her existence as she is to theirs. I do kind of believe that is the case. What happens to Cassandra and Alexander after they find out about Bella's death? Scientist Sims end up inventing something. Cassandra's invention is time travel. I do believe that is probably the case. Time machine, and the first use is to send Dawn to the future after her, Dina, Nina, and Kaylin find out that he was playing all of them. I do believe that is the case. I think eventually Nina is like, you know what? Fuck this guy. And they all just deal with him. She then goes on to live her life, but she never finds out what happened to her mother and that she has a younger sister. Alexander is greatly affected by his mother's death. He has no memories of her being abducted by aliens. Normally toddlers remember things like that, so it's odd that he doesn't when the rest of the family does. I don't actually know if that's true. I've tried like testing it out, but it's never really worked out. So I have no idea if toddlers in The Sims 2 are able to remember when Sims get abducted by aliens. He does remember her disappearing. I just had this idea. So I have the Sims 2 base game loaded onto my husband's desktop. I just had the idea, what if I load up the Goth house, and because the forced abduction debug does work in the base game, what if I had Alexander get abducted by aliens that way? I think that would be really funny. I'm gonna try that and see what happens. What he does remember is her disappearing, Mortimer being okay with it, and getting together with Dina really fast after she vanished, and then finding out that his mother is dead. Okay, so if you do have Bella like put into the house, I'm sorry, I'm still thinking about Alexander getting abducted by aliens. Okay, so if you have Bella through the tombstone and she dies, Cassandra and Alexander do remember her being dead. So that is true. I think maybe he would come to the conclusion that Mortimer was the one who killed her, and maybe he doesn't have a good relationship with Mortimer. Probably not, but we'll go over that later. All this? No. I want to go over Lolita real quick. Lolita Goth was the wife of Alexander Goth. No, actually, that's wrong. I no longer believe that. I think it's really stupid of me that I actually did believe that. Lolita, I think, was more than likely Gunther's first wife. I didn't become aware of that theory until after I had made this post, but I am aware of it now, and I really do believe that. I'll go over that in another video, but yeah, this is not Alexander Goth's first wife. I can't believe I actually thought that. Mortimer Goth used to be my favorite out of the Goth family, yes. Okay, yes, this is true. Even over Bella, that is true. He's not, I do kind of like him, but as far as out of the Goth family goes, I'd have to say probably Cornelia, and I will discuss why later. I do still believe that it was more than likely poor timing on aliens and bad luck altogether. Yeah, like I said, I do want to give this a proper treatment and be really certain in how I explain what I think exactly happens. But most of this is crap. Let's be real here. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and edit this, and I'm gonna try and get it up tonight. That's it. All right. Thanks. Bye.